Hi there, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative. Welcome to the very last card in my 2017 Easter Critters card series. I'm calling this the Easter Gnome card because I use the My Favorite Things You Know Me stamp set primarily to create this little scene. I'm not sure that a gnome qualifies as a critter, but I thought maybe close enough. And he does have some snails with him that I added little rabbit ears to. So I think those qualify as critters. So even though I might be cheating a little bit in the Easter Critters version, I hope you understand and go with it. I also like the idea of creating, especially for my last card in the series, something that you could adapt into more of a spring card, a Mother's Day card, in case you didn't have time to create this before Easter, since Easter is right around the corner. Now here I am making little rabbit ears on my snails by kind of drawing over their antenna that are part of the stamp, and then I'm drawing it in with a Copic liner. Later I will actually add some antenna back in because the ears look kind of weird without antenna. It sort of looks like they just have strange rabbit ears on them as snails. So I do add those back in later. Now this is the first time I have ever used basically the equivalent of Gamsol with my colored pencils. I've seen it many times, and I've been kind of curious, but I just had never bothered to purchase any Gamsol. And so I was researching it the other day and discovered that Gamsol is actually the equivalent of odorless mineral spirits. And I did have some of that. So I thought, I'm just going to see what happens if I just try out using some odorless mineral spirits with a stump here to blend the colors, and I think it worked just fine. If somebody has used Gamsol and you're watching this and you think it's not blending the same way, let me know. But I thought it did a really nice job. It blended just fine. And so I was pretty excited about that. I have a feeling that odorless mineral spirits are less expensive than Gamsol, so could be a way to save some money, and you also get like a huge amount in the bottle that I've got, which I had lying around from some paint stripping project from back in the day. But anyway, I digress. So now I'm coloring these with my Prismacolor colored pencils. Now I'm using some older colored pencils. These are the light fast Prismacolor pencils, and those have been discontinued. So I will list all the colors that I used in the Lightfest line on my blog post for this if you're interested. I know you can still find the Lightfast pencils. Amazon I think has them, and Overstock might have them. So if you really want to use the exact same ones, I think you would still be able to find them. However, I was not able to find out what would the equivalent colors be in the regular Premier Prismacolor pencils. But I have ordered some of those, so once I get them, I will try to figure out what the color equivalents would be and update the blog post with that information if you only have the regular ones. But as you can see, what I'm doing is kind of base coating with the lightest shade and then coming in with a darker shade to add shading, and then blending it together with my pencil stump in the Gamsol. I pretty much only used 2 colors for each color. So it's 2 greens, 2 blues, 2 purples, etc. And I definitely went with a very Eastery color palette. Now gnomes, I think, normally dress in red or green, maybe blue, not normally lavender and pink, but for Easter, I thought he needed to look very festive. So I gave him an Easter color palette outfit. And I wanted to mention this sharpener because a lot of people have problems with sharpening Prismacolors. They break very easily. I definitely have had that problem for years and years and been really annoyed and kind of hated Prismacolors because of that. But I finally bit the bullet and went ahead and purchased this, slightly pricey pencil sharpener by Prismacolors, the Prismacolor sharpener. It was probably $5 or $6 on Amazon. I do have a link to it on my blog. And I have to say, that thing's amazing. It's definitely worth it. I sharpened all these pencils that I used, and some of them were really, really broken, and I had no problem sharpening them at all. It worked like a dream, and it can sharpen a super, super sharp point or a medium point. So it's well worth the money. So I highly encourage you, if you have issues with sharpening your Prismacolors, to go ahead and get that sharpener. It's definitely a time saver, and you'll be able to use your Prismacolors a lot longer and more efficiently. So that is my endorsement for this video, I guess. Now, I did wind up adding quite a bit of sort of sparkle to these guys. Now I'm using my sparkle marker in gold for his belt buckle. And then I will add some Nouveau drops along on the mushroom as well as the flowers to add some sparkle here and there, as well as a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to take my clear sparkle marker from Spectrum Noir and I will sparkle up the gnome's beard and the snails and some of the flowers to just really get a sparkly Easter feeling. Now those little trees up there on the right, I die cut out using the Paper Tray Ink Pop-Up Trees die. And then my hills I cut out using the Lawn Fawn rolling or stitched hillsides border dies. And then this cute little guy with the fence is the My Favorite Things Rolling Hills die. And so it comes with the fence that fits just right on the hillside, and it's so cute. So you can see me sparkling everything up. Now, those papers that I used are the top two, the blue and the dark green, are from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and then the lower two are from Gina K. I purposely picked sort of 3 different shades of green to kind of make the hills look like they were receding, I guess, in the distance, and also just to add some fun color. Now on the tree branches from my dies, I'm just coloring these in with a brown marker. It's a Spectrum Noir TN8, rather than cutting them again from brown. You could do that. You could easily do that. I just thought it was quicker to just color the trunks and color the branches and just feed them right back in there. And now my favorite way of sort of putting together a little scene card is to have like a base piece, which is what this white piece is, and it's cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and then layer everything on top of that to kind of create the base, and then I will layer that on top of my card base. I just think it's easier, and I normally cut things larger than whatever this sort of piece is. Like you see here, I'm gonna have to trim off quite a bit, just so that I have extra and I can always get it nice and even on each side, rather than trying to like hope that the things I cut match up with the panel. Believe me, I've had that problem many a time. Now to sort of anchor these guys in the scene, I'm adding some shadows underneath them. So I'm using my IG2 Spectrum Noir gray marker just to add the shadows in. I like doing this because it tends to make the whatever you're adding, like creatures, trees, flowers, anything, look like they are actually standing on the hill rather than floating on the hill. So that's kind of my favorite tip for little scenes is add those shadows. And you don't have to do that with a marker. You could do that with, colored pencils, whatever. Since this is sort of an odd combination of like sort of the hand-drawn colored items in combination with sort of more graphic hills and trees, I liked using the marker, which added a slightly more graphic element to the shadows than if I had done it with colored pencil, but that's just my personal preference. Now I'm feeding the branches back into these little trees with some double-sided tape, and then I'm going to use some Zig glue pen to stick these down. Everything else I pretty much use double-sided tape in various sizes from Elizabeth Craft Designs. And now I am putting ATG gun on the front of my A2 size card base, and I'm adhering this down to a piece of purple paper from the Lawn Fawn Perfectly Plaid Rainbow Paper Pack. And then I am going to put my little scene on top of that piece. I've also discovered that I like adhering a larger piece of paper to my card base rather than cutting it out first, and inevitably it doesn't quite line up with the card base. So doing it this way saves me that problem as well. Now my Happy Easter banner I created by stamping that from the Lawn Fawn Extra Special Easter stamp set and then cutting it into a banner shape and putting a little bit of Nouveau drops on it. And now I'm adding some foam dots just to give it a little bit of dimension. And I also kind of like that gives it a shadow too. And that is the completed project. So So a little bit different for an Easter card. Oh, there you get a good look at some of the shading with the Gamsol and the pencils. But I thought he was super cute. Like, why can't you have an Easter gnome instead of like the Easter bunny or something? Kind of be a little bit different. Why not? So hopefully you got a little bit of inspiration and had some fun. Thanks so much for watching. As always, there is a supply list linked in the video description below and on my blog. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to subscribe. Here are 2 more videos in my Easter Critters card set. If you're interested to know those, please leave me a comment because I'd love to hear from you. And you can always find more information about me on my blog, blacksheep303.com. Thanks so much. Happy Easter. Have a great day.